Hi, Jimmy here with Every Mountain Top. I'm here on top of Bald Mountain, which is just north of Mount Nebo. It's beautiful up here, beautiful day. It's beautiful, but I'm actually having a really rough day. It hasn't been the best recovery-wise, so it's kind of hard to do this, to talk about recovery when I feel like I'm failing myself. Hopefully the wind's not too bad here. But the thing I wanted to talk about is taking responsibility for yourself and your actions. Recently my wife's been studying, and I've been picking at it a little bit, Jack Canfield's book, The Success Principles. It's an excellent book, has a lot of true principles in it that are true to the gospel, true to recovery, and one of the things he talks about in there is taking 100% responsibility for your actions. Now this is pretty tough as an addict, especially if you've been told your whole life or the whole time you've attempted recovery that you're an addict, you'll always be an addict, and there's a little you can do to change that. Sometimes that puts in your mind the idea that, well, I'm not responsible for what I do. I can do my best to change, and God will change me, but I don't have to take responsibility. Now that's a lie. We are expected to take responsibility for our actions. Although we may have an addiction, and there may be some pretty strong neural pathways, physical responses, whatever it may be that's driving that addiction, there is still the being accountable. We're still accountable before God for what we do, what we think, what we act, how we react, and until we will consciously choose to take responsibility for ourselves, then our responsibility lies in the hands of someone else. Much of that in our lives we've given up to Satan, our addiction, whatever you want to call it. We've given our lives up to him. So if he's in control, then we don't have much say in it, do we? Now, relate this to 12 steps. Step 1, we admit that we are powerless. Okay. Be humble. Recognize, okay, I can't do this on my own. Step 3, we are asked to give ourselves up, submit to God's will. Basically, give up our own will and desires and submit to Him completely. Now, relate this to what I just talked about with taking responsibility for yourself and your actions. If you haven't taken full responsibility for your actions, that means that your actions are in the hands of someone else. And if the actions that you take are in the hands of someone else, how are you able to give those to God? So, I believe that part of these steps, and it's very plain in steps 4 and 5, where you take an inventory and then confess, that you take accountability and take responsibility for your thoughts, your actions. And once you do that, your thoughts and your actions, as awful as they may be, are in your hands. Then you have the ability and power to hand them over to God, for Him to take them and Him to give you peace. And that's what we're all looking for. Peace. To be closer to God than we are right now. To feel comfortable in His presence. to feel comfortable in our family's presence. So take responsibility for yourself. You can. Even being an addict, even having those very strong desires, neural pathways, habits, you can take responsibility for your actions. In some level, do that. Admit it. And then give it up to God. Let Him take it. And take one step at a time, one day at a time. Get up that mountain. Look up. Get up. And reach the summit.